Yarek, Aisha, Behrad, 2 episodes every week. LeanCast, product innovation and UX design podcast.
Uh, well, this is going to be a very special episode. Usually, I want to not introduce folks, but I think Gleb is someone that I need to give a bit of an introduction for you all so you know why he is here. Gleb is, I think, 2 times Webby Awards designer. Correct me if I'm wrong, if I get the background right. And then Gleb is a chief design officer at Brain Technologies companies, and he's basically at the frontier of re-envisioning and redesigning the application layer of the internet, leveraging AI. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I wanted him to come on the podcast. We went through a couple of back and forth, and he was gracious enough to come on the podcast. Gleb, thanks a lot for doing this. I know you're a busy person. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, and I'm exciting. Looking forward for that conversation, and thank you for inviting me.
Gleb, I've been looking at your LinkedIn, and for all the folks that listen to this, go check out his LinkedIn. We put it in the link into the event podcast description. Your show reel, the stuff that you're working on is amazing. So maybe start with your background, what you have been doing, how you started in the design career. Lots of aspiring designers listening to this podcast, and where you are right now, what you are doing, and what you focus.
Sure. I've been in UI, UX, and product design for around 25 years so far.
Wow.
Was started as a UX, basically engineer on the early days. I was building large American websites and services for mass market, basically B2C. Then I was working a lot on the operating systems, like a senior designer of Nokia company, as well as I was in charge of a large organization when I was the head of product and visual design in Fantasy Interactive. I was in charge of Huawei operating system, LG, driving Mitsubishi branding, a lot of stuff related to early days AI, where we building basically a lot of interesting products, I would say, for companies like Netflix, Royal Caribbean, Spotify. And basically at that time, I'm already was pretty familiar with AI and what's coming. It was early 2014, 2015, I would say.
Wow.
Yeah, and at that time I was moving to Silicon Valley, California, and the more I start working here, the more I start understanding what's coming. So basically, I would say in 2017, I clearly understand about the
So
GPT.
early.
Yeah, very early. So 2018, I get the first version of GPT, I would say, on my trial. So I'm already was starting playing with that.
Hold on a second. 2018?
Right.
Wow.
That was early days for sure. But it was not at that advanced, of course, as it is right now. It was much more early version. There was a lot of bugs, but I clearly understand what's coming. So general intelligence, something what can resolve a lot of fundamental, I would say, backend problems in the real time. So that was clear for me.
Wow, you dropped the ball. 2018, 19, you were like playing around with these like revolutionary new tools that broke out some months ago, literally, to the mass market. So when you were like received the first version, what kind of thinking, thoughts, ideas pop into your mind? And I know you have a very creative mind, so I would love for you to think out loud, sort of share your visionary thoughts with us.
Right. So first of all, I was exciting, like super hardly I didn't sleep much because it was so exciting for me. So I understand. And the thing is, like, what excites me the most that nobody else have access. So
Sure.
that was the magic. I was thinking about myself as a very unique person who get this opportunity first, like one of the maybe I don't know first 1,000 people who have a sense of what is gonna be the future look like. And of course, like I was like immediately as a designer, I was starting thinking, okay, I need to build something with it. So like, what are we going to be doing? Like I need to be first because I have the opportunity to be first. And that was all my thoughts. So like I basically starting just thinking, okay, what's next? And of course, because it was early days, nobody have access. My idea was to build something which is basically will be on the intersection between design and the consumer product. And we come up basically with my partner with that idea of building natural AI application. It's called natural AI. And the initial idea of that application was basically a generative interface who use that technology like GPT type of kind of engine and generate interface in real time. And based on your words, it's formed the interface in front of you. So basically, it was the plan to build a first intention-based interface. So right now we have non-intention-based interface. It's a tool-based interface right now exists, right? So we have tools, you launch the tools, and then you learn how to use that, and then you get from E to B. But I want to reinvent that and build something which help people not to think what tool they need to get to their desired state, basically. What that means you can say any query like, hey, I need, I don't know, groceries in my freezer, and bam, it's done, basically. You don't need to think about going to Instacart or any other application exists for ordering groceries. So the AI will do that for you. Basically, that was my first kind of like attempt. But the thing is, like at that time, the GPT was really weak, and we go to pitch that idea. We were starting basically, okay, we was like super far up with all this innovation coming. And we starting pitching, and people thinking that we are absolutely crazy. They're like, oh my God, like you just idiots, like get back to, like to reality. There are no such thing like general intelligence exists and never going to be exist. So like everyone is like very skeptical. I remember we have this meeting with I think it was vice president of Volkswagen Group. He arrived to Silicon Valley in research for innovation and like innovative startups. And I remember we pitching them basically that idea and imagining this future inside the car when GPT kind of like a type of technology implemented, like Mercedes-Benz did just recently. Few weeks ago, I think.
I saw it.
Yeah, and we pitched that Volkswagen Group head of innovation, basically, and he was just like saying, like, "Hey, like you guys crazy, like get out of
Get
here."
a knife.
So like, yeah, like we don't want to like even talk with you, like you just like talking shit. Like nobody, he said, I remember that nobody inside the car ever need that type of technology. Nobody. Everybody will focus on the road. So like, and we was like, yeah, okay, yeah, no worries, like that's fine. So that was a very funny time, but nobody believed us. So like, except one family who is basically a Steve Jobs fund. So the Steve Jobs family, when they hear us, when we pitch them this idea, they love it and they become our investors.
And this was 2018, right?
Yeah, this was actually 2016, 17, but 18, we already shaped the idea, I would say, and we started raising big money on that. So basically, yeah, that was the early days. And that's how I become basically a chief design officer in Brain company and starting focusing just on the AI phase. Basically, I transitioned from just being head of product design for large corporations and starting building something my own. But the problem at that time, we were so innovative. We were so kind of like ahead of the time, basically. Well,
Right.
we don't know how much we was ahead of the time. That's the problem. So like we was thinking and truly
Right.
yeah, because we don't know when it's gonna come in, when it's gonna be open up. So we was definitely thinking that we like 10 years ahead of the time. But we never was thought that it's actually 1 or 2 years. Like we was just like, oh no, that's not gonna happen. But then once it's happening, we was like, oh damn.
So let me get
It's
let me
over.
get the timeline right.
Yeah.
You were thinking about this before first version of ChatGPT. Get
Right,
out.
right. So there are
Oh,
also
that's very early.
there are also interesting fact that investors in our company is also investors in ChatGPT. So basically, yeah. So we kind of like have this information from them. They didn't tell us exactly when anything gonna happen or like any of that information, but they tell us that this is what gonna happen. It's there. Like there are big money on table. So like, and this money is never gonna be a waste. The problem is we just don't know when exactly we're gonna get this access to this engine. But we get access the earliest. So we get access, I would say, 1 year before everybody else get access. But it only was 1 year. So like, and that 1 year, unfortunately, was like completely not enough to build something really powerful, especially when you get access to a better version. And beta version is like it's crashing every 2 hours, like stable. And it's have so much inaccuracy. So like we starting implementing that technology into the product like 1 year before it's become public. So and yeah, it still was early, but we already understand very clearly once it's become public, it's gonna go viral, like all of that. Like we definitely understand like all this thing, and we were suffering from this kind of like, okay, what we need to do. So like, what exactly? And we suffering because of inaccuracy of the technology. So like we basically suffering because of it's not stable, it's not accurate. So like, and like, okay, if you're gonna implement it in our product right now, our product become bad just because of that. So like we can't just ship it to the mass market. And we was like thinking a lot. Basically, we was researching like day and night for like entire like basically a year. We did a lot of implementation of that technology on the early days in natural, but it was not not accurate. So like it's just like we was not satisfied with the results it's giving. So like I think right now, like as well, most people not satisfied with the results it's giving. You know, like it's still like on that age where it's there, almost there. But it's give us sense, but it's not replacing the everything. That's the thing. So like it's not literally replacing the everything. So yeah.
Wow. So wow. That's how I can express my enthusiasm about what you have described. So let me, because this is like a Steve Jobs level type of innovation you've been working on for quite a while. I think over 5 years now. So maybe like out of my own personal curiosity, when you are sitting on such a groundbreaking vision that, hey, I'm going to call what's going to be the future interaction of consumer application could look like. This is my convention. This is where we're going. How do you go about making sense of this vision and bringing it down to earth to release the first potential application and like basically introduce it to the mass market?
That was the most difficult actually task, I would say. So especially when you in that kind of like, I would say, bubble, Silicon Valley. So like when the reality is not important at all. So basically, yeah, that's exactly what Silicon Valley is about. So like the most startups, again, this was about like on the early days. Right now, this year, I would say this last 2 years is everything is different. Like now, it's Silicon Valley. It's absolutely different location, different altitude, and different principles. But before, you can't just go to the market. You need to be a mystery technology, and only then you can get really big money, like
Right.
$1 billion of investment, basically. And my executive team understand that pretty well. And basically Lauren Jobs, I think she knows that as well, and most investors understand that. So, and we just trying to focus on the innovation. So like a
Right.
lot of time. But then at some point, of course, like me as a person, like I was always responsible to ship the product. So like it was not large products, but it was significant for myself, like because I was very proud of what I'm shipping. I was proud when we launched the operating systems, all the applications I built. I was always like exciting, like to see how people use that. I just design, like on the fly, all of that product design mentality is actually like in my DNA. And I basically pushing forward, like everybody, I'm saying like we need to ship something. We can't just like
Yes.
constantly researching whatever. Like, and I pushed to ship the first version of the natural. But the problem was it was not ready. So basically the overall promise was to create generative interface who generate interface in the real time on any desired state, right? So that's the promise. So like you can go fly somewhere, you can go travel. I mean, you can go to buy a ticket to a subway station or whatever, like you basically want to, like. And we decide to kind of like prioritize the e-commerce, especially because the e-commerce is like very painful experience. It's not
Right.
just because we want some money. We don't actually take any fees. We actually make it cheaper for people to use versus other apps. So we basically pay like own money for delivery. So like it's free delivery. Natural was like absolutely efficient offer for everybody. And we decided to focus on e-commerce because of the painful experience people have. Like you can't really like order anything without going to this like 100,000 apps. Okay, this is AI. Like it can do that for you. It's like, and we built that a very kind of difficult technology is called the execution engine.
Right.
That is another part of general intelligence kind of like stack of technology. Execution engine is not brain for machine to think. It is the hands to machine to act, basically.
Got it.
So yeah, so right now there are only few startups doing that execution engine. Like one of that I think is Adept AI, with the founder from OpenAI company. I think they raised around $350 million, very big amount of money just recently on that. But basically, it is the machine who understand human built interfaces and do stuff like fill up the forms for you, fill up the credit card information, whatever, like, and execute basically tasks for you. And we build that technology as well. So we fill up a lot of patterns, and we launched the product with shopping and food domains, these two domains. And there are other domains is coming, the flight domains, the rideshare domains, and also the gifts domains. And there was a lot of like planning, like this like amount of like work was like pretty decent. And we launched that. The people first glance was like, oh, it's amazing. It looks like nothing ever exists like on the planet and all that. But later on, like when people started using that, of course, because we use that early days technology, it's like it's not really sometimes it's broken. So we have like large support team who cover all of that basically issues. It was very hard time. So we produce bugs, I would say, more than we produce value for people. First, I would say 3 to 5 months. Then, of course, everything became much better. We opening more domains and all of that. But then we just realized that supporting that product and overall kind of like building that product is become so difficult. The bigger product is become, the more we become like less flexible in terms of like transformation and innovation, I would say.
Right.
And again, because I still believe that even right now, like I know that like Microsoft implement that technology in their kind of browser, like Google is trying to do the same. Like I'm trying that. I'm not satisfied with what it's doing. I mean, yeah, it's doing something, but it's not accurate, especially
Right.
when it came to a specific important questions related to science, for example. Like when I need to something like related to scientific knowledge, it's absolutely lie to you, like absolutely like
Yes.
terribly, but very confident. Like that's the thing.
Yes.
Like, and it's like, oh my god, how you can tell this type of things? It's not truth. Like it's not how we people acting. So and yeah, that was the reason why we slowed down with implementation, and we shift ourselves, like how you can see, towards the another product, which is a Magica, which is a different product. But this inaccuracy can be forgiven in that another product, basically. So that's basically the reason was to make a decision to start focusing out, basically to brain shifting towards building foundation. It's basically, this Magica product is a backdoor for the natural. So basically developers and everybody who have idea about the service and product basically offering, they can build the application in a Magica, launch their own business, and as well as embedded this business and service in the natural AI application. So that was basically initial idea. We still have that idea. At some point, we're gonna come back to natural. I don't know when, but that's how we basically shifting from the consumer mass market product towards something else. So
Wow. So the when I bumped into your profile, it was one of your recent show reel. I think it was the finance app. And then recently you released a new show reel that is about the recruitment, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And this is basically part of the Imagica tech stack. So basically you are enabling an execution engine that allows people to go from a text command, say, I want a recruiting app that does this and this and this, and you make that application on the fly, so to speak.
Correct. That's exactly what's happening. So there are many layers, basically, and interface and technological layers behind the hood of Imagica. And there are basically, of course, GPT layer, which is basically a first layer. That is where you input the information, and GPT basically extract the knowledge and starting building the graph of the application. So like for designers, it's probably not the graph of application. It's called, I don't know, like the mirror board of the navigational structure of the application, I would say. So, and I would not say that this is exactly application, because apps, if you take a look on the apps in the App Store, for example, they are very different. They all have absolutely different interfaces, and the most important, different user experience.
Right.
So yeah, and not everybody, I would say, right now have voice-enabled function in their applications. So there are a lot of apps like, for example, I don't know, Instagram. Like you don't have voice there. You just like scroll, right? Don't need to have any of that. But we focus on the Magica mainly, like again, in the beginning, we decided to launch that product mainly with the AI apps. So that is basically a voice-enabled apps. So like if you saw in my demos, they all have this basically a voice button, so you can speak to it.
Even faster.
Yeah.
Wow.
So basically, we use our ISR technology, the recognition of the voice, what we built internally for many years in for natural application, because we was also like focusing on the voice. We reuse a lot of the technologies what we basically building during this 5 years before the GPT era. And we just kind of like make it scalable, and we build this canvas system. That's what it's called. So it's pretty much same Figma, or you can compare that to the mirror board, I would say, where you draw the lines from one block to another, basically. And you allocate, by using natural language, allocate the meaning of that connection between one block to another. So between basically two blocks, there are this kind of like a prompt. So that's what you're doing. So, and you fill up the prompt, and the prompt is basically can be turn these words into like result. So like, or whatever, like, right. So like you can build them application with function, I would say, with your words. That's the innovation of the Magica. And once you do that, Magica show you result, and you can transfer that result by just using mouse towards the application preview. So like that's what you have on the right hand side of the interface. And that's it. Like you can just starting using the app. You don't need anything else. It is very interesting, and I think it's gonna change a lot. I get a lot of questions, and I know you probably gonna ask me this question: is it gonna change the design, or is it gonna like kill the designers, or whatever? Like, what is gonna be on the future, right? So I will not say that it's gonna kill any designers for sure. I would say it's just a simple way for people to share their knowledge and their expertise in some specific fields. And specifically, I think it's going to be very helpful for small business and mid-sized business entrepreneur who just don't have enough money to go and build a proper application and unique design, basically, kind of like, because design is expensive. Like if you want to build something really amazing, you need to spend a lot of money on it. So like it was free. It's just going to become a little bit more accessible. And I don't think it is about the design. It's less about design. It's more about, I would say, sharing your function, your application as soon as possible. So like, I don't think we're going to handle, like that is just going to form like any design you describe with the prompt. And even if that is the case, the problem is the prompt engineering, that you still need to understand prompt. You're never gonna do that like right away. So like it takes a lot of time you to think, and maybe the amount of time which takes for you to think and to do that is gonna take exactly same time what basically designers is gonna spend on creating the same thing, like. So yeah, that's my take on it, but that's what is the magic as well. So we already in 1,000 people, beta testers. So people are sharing the feedback, we fixing bugs. That's where we are right now. And I would say before the end of July, we have a goal to share the Magica with 10,000 people.
Wow.
We slowly coming up. We decide to make it slower than with natural or any consumer product because of technology is still unstable. Still a lot of errors. We don't want people be super upset about that. So we're trying to protect them as much as they can. And we try to, of course, gather as much feedback as possible so we can polish the product. That's what we definitely focus right now. So
a question. So when I, for example, lay the logics of my application in Magica, say I want a recruiting app, I want to do this and this and this, the output is going to be sending my portfolio resume to the recruiter of that specific company or whatever. And then can I release this app as a web application, native application? What's the situation here?
Right now, you can automatically release this app as a web application. So you will
Okay.
receive the web link, and you can share that link with whatever people you want, and they can just start using that right away.
Amazing.
In the future, we building right now in the parallel tool to basically create iOS applications. They also will be the web-based, I would say more, we probably going to convert it into the React or something. So like
Right.
it's going to be a very simple kind of like, it's not going to be super advanced, but of course it's going to have unique colors, backgrounds, like, and results, like how basically results is showing up. Of course, you can change the logo there and whatever you want, but it's not going to be, you cannot, like build whatever home screen you want. So like, or something like that. You will still use the existing the Magica components.
Right.
So of course we have some plans to build some like very advanced, like more close to what Framer.io just did,
Right.
like when you can fill up the prompt and it's shape the design based on the prompt. But I don't think it's super, super important at that moment of time, like just because like it's still early days. I mean, yeah, it's doing some very basic design for you, but is it like what people really need? I don't know. So basically, for now, that's the plan. Web app in the first place, then it's going to be the application. And the web app is beauty of that because it's responsive. You don't
Yeah.
really stick to mobile. You can use it on desktop, iPad, whatever screen, and it's like launched everywhere without any problems. Yeah, so.
It's cool that you have a point of focus, that you're focusing on a small, medium, enterprises, and for them, really, like to your point, is that hey, I discover a need in the market. I want to provide this service, and if I can put together an application that is decent looking, that does solve the problem of my target audience, I take it. If I can reduce the time the time to go to market by 10x or 100x, I take it every day of the week.
Right. That's the lesson we learn with the painful experience with natural. Absolutely. So we decide to promise less and deliver more in the short amount of time. Then versus we like that's what I see right now happening in the world. Everybody promised so much. Everybody just like saying that like the tools can do everything, and you go, you test, and you're like, I don't
Hmm.
like it. I'm not gonna use it. Like so, like I don't think so. Like, and that's what's happening. I think with all this generative AI kind of like startup bubbles everywhere. So like people are promising, but technology is not delivering. And we try to reduce that as much as we can because we really want to build something which will stay in the world and will help people basically versus we just building that in the purpose of raising money, I would say.
So just to give an image to founders that are listening to this podcast, what kind of use cases that they could like potentially uh, build application around using your groundbreaking technology?
Well, I would say absolutely any sort of application. So the beauty of Imagica is not only that it's helping you reduce the manpower for building the application, but it's also that it can have it has basically the precision of using any accurate data. So what that means that you can upload your spreadsheet of your, I don't know, if you are, for example, a coffee bean company. So you
Right.
can upload your spreadsheet around like what type of beans you're selling and create AI apps about coffee beans recommendation based on people's taste or people food, like
Fantastic.
how they like. For example, I don't know. I'm eating right now pizza. Like, what type of beans is good for pizza? Like, I don't know, something like that. I mean, they can use any knowledge any external data knowledge, including the websites. Like, for example, if my business already holding the website, which sell, I don't know, for example, I don't know, like anything,
Shoes.
milk, shoes, whatever. And you can just allocate this website and saying, okay, this is your data source, and you can build application when the people upload the photo of their feet, and the app is just generate you right shoes based on the data it has about the size of the shoes and all the basically different styles. So you can also use something like a general knowledge, basically the same basically GPT, and just building up without data. So you can use general knowledge in the cooking, for example. You can build a cooking app right now. Like
Wow.
it's going to take you around like 2 minutes to do that. And you can say that this is cooking up just about the fresh vegetable, for example, like, or you can say this is the cooking up about the cakes only, like, or any of that. So like you can just kind of guide AI towards specific knowledge, a specific area where you really want to focus. And if people come into that application and they can ask, like something else, like, hey, buy me, tell me about the Aston Martin. The AI will always respond, hey, I can tell you about Aston Martin. Aston Martin is that car, but actually this app is about cakes. Do you want to build some cakes? Like things like that. Yeah, so like we build it in a way, the prompt engineers like build the prompts in a way where basically it's always aware of what's happening within the product, and it's kind of like layering out and guiding people towards the direction of the product versus like general knowledge. But it's doing that gently and softly, so people are not upset. And this is basically what's happening, right? So like what really fascinates me is like that with this general knowledge, you never meet a wall. So like before the general AI with all this Siri, Alexa, like all of that, is like, hey, do that, and it's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know, like, right? It's like always the wall, and that was like why people stopped trusting into the AI, right? So like, like it cannot do anything. It's like I'm asking that, and it didn't really respond. So but right now you can see that like you can ask anything and it's never going to say I cannot respond, right? Except if you ask something what is in the blacklist, right? And basically that's was what magically about that technology, that's why people download this app and starting using, GPT app, and starting using like everywhere, because you can ask anything and it's just answer you anything. But people didn't question, like most of people, I would say, didn't question accuracy of the answers, but still,
So here's the thing. Here's an example. Walk me through it, whether it's could be possible with Imagic or not. Mm-hmm. A collector that collect objects from World War I and World War II has a long database of objects, right? I go to their website and there is a nice like a chat-based functionality that I say, hey, I'm interested in the medals from World War II and during this period, like especially the medals that French soldiers would put on their chest. What do you have for me? And then it offers me a collection of available objects, medals, for that specific intent. Then can I press purchase, and would that deliver to me if they go that far setting up the application?
Yes, that's exactly what you can do in our application.
Wow.
You can.
That's cool.
Yes, we have the purchase button. Unfortunately, at that particular moment, today you can sell only virtual goods. So basically, anything related to, like, for example, stock market, anything virtual, basically. but we are developing right now and finishing the delivery dashboard, basically.
Wow.
So because it's required a little bit more than just generate it up and buy button. So like it's required also the storing the data about the purchases and have the feedback loop as well. So if something went wrong, we want that people can able to communicate with the owner of the application. That's the kind of like small details, the bridges, what we're building, but it's absolutely doable because we reuse the same technology we built for natural AI, basically, which is e-commerce app, and it has this basically execution engine for purchasing, and we just reuse the same technology in Magic. Yeah.
Well, how do you see the future of app stores? Will we have app stores in the next 3, 4, 5 years?
So
Would they stay relevant, or at some point we say like, hey, that was really stupid. Why did we ever go to app stores to download applications?
So to answer that question, the revenue what App Store is generate right now, like just taking Apple, is around $1.1 trillion. Is the most like biggest basically a money cow of Apple company, like a part of
Right.
other products, right? So you can imagine like how powerful they are.
Mm-hmm.
And imagining that App Store for some reason will be gone or replaced with anything, that's just like not gonna happen. So like this guy's gonna prevent it like for sure. So App Store is gonna stay. The what basically I would say what type of innovation we're gonna see in the App Store is that the apps become more translucent. So basically you can use these apps not only on the phone, you can also use the app with Vision Pro. You can also use this app with the desktop. So they become like kind of like everywhere. So like they not, so right now you build a specific app for the mobile and it's very painful experience. So what Apple will try to do, they try to ease that experience using generative AI as well. And they also will try to build more kind of like scalable design system, more responsive designs for that. So you can actually like just swipe from your phone to your glasses and enjoying, like bigger screen with the same Instagram output you did basically just in the phone. So that's clear the goal of the transformation of the App Store right now. I don't think something gonna happen with that just because like the market is so huge, so many developers involved in that market and they earning money every day, designers as well. So like all of that is like cannot be just gone within 2-3 years. But I also have a little bit of sense of what's coming, I would say 10 to 15 years from now, which is a little bit different from the App Store. That's a little bit different story, but not within the next, I would say, 2-3 years.
The reason I ask that there's a lot of simple application that currently there's an app for it, then I think it will be sort of like streamlined from ChatGPT, from Google Search, from Google Bard, Microsoft Bing. Either even like inside your Microsoft Windows, like you just like pull up the search and or command functionality and do something, and you don't need an application for that simple command anymore. So I think like the way I feel about app stores, like the only apps that could survive will be games, because you need to go download them, or like really complex applications that technologies like Imagica cannot streamline it very easily.
Right. I would say, yeah, I see what you're saying. This is the more close towards the GPT plugins, I would say, functionality, right? When the app itself is embedded inside the basically assistant or where you basically make a request. That is organically moving towards that direction, what you just described for sure. I don't know if that is going to be massive or mass market because right now you still need to build that. So like it's a physical build of developers building that plugin. And yeah, many companies will do that. So but again, like if you remember, there was this time when Apple announced this functionality, what is called the widgets on the home screen, basically
Yes, yes,
when you swipe like here. It's like,
yes.
I don't think anyone built it. So like right now, it's like, yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, you can use it. But when I like just recently was trying to like see like if I need to change my widgets, and I trying to, like I have around like maybe 150 different applications in my iPhone. And I seen that like only like 5% of them like build any widgets. And it's like, well, it's so easy to build a widget. Why you didn't do that? Like people are just like, they don't care much. They know that like kind of like, you can do that, you can do that. And also I think like if you're talking about the search engines like Bing, like Google, like if you're imagining that you can just fill up the query like, hey, I need to do that. And if you believe that it's going to give you exactly this app with some small developer build it and it's working for that specific need. So unfortunately, we live in that like high competitor world. So like there are probably 100 similar apps.
Right.
And the thing is about like that whole market is all money driven. So like it's all about the payments. It's all about generating revenue for Google. The search is the revenue machine as well. So like,
Mm-hmm.
and the people who pay more, probably they're going to show up first, and then the other
Mm-hmm.
one is going to go down, like all of that. I don't think is going to simply just going to be gone. So that's
Yeah.
exactly, I think, the why the Google, the Apple, everybody's, all these giant companies, they moving so slow, much slower than the small startups, because they understand like, okay, if we're gonna move quickly, we're gonna destroy ourselves, like our money cow,
Yeah.
right? Basically, that's what they don't want to do, and that's why they 100% test everything. They also very gentle with all these implementations, making sure that it's works really good before they do the move. So yeah, even the Bing was the first guys who did that move, and everybody was saying, "Oh, it's killing the Google, it's killing the Google." I don't think so. Like
Yeah.
I think Google is still there, as people use the Google first. So
And that's you mentioned really a very important point when it comes to AI revolution is like promises are exciting, promises are sexy, but delivery is more important. What can we do today? What can we deliver today? Is there a use case that we can focus on and release an application or solution around it that we can introduce to the mass market? I think it's always, I think the market gets more excited about the vision or potential speculation of a technology than actually thinking about what's possible today with this technology.
correct. I think, and I don't know if that is right or that is wrong. So like that's
Right.
the thing. So like you can't really understand like what's the right approach here, because you can't build today's day before you actually understand the vision. So like that's
True.
what I learned as a designer in my practice with many large organizations as well. So like they well, depend of the organizations. I would say there are two type of organizations exist in, especially in Silicon Valley. One is the vision driven, which is
Mhm.
more close to Apple. I would say Spotify is the same type of company. Consumer electronic companies who need to be first in something. So they want to build something first. They are more vision driven. They want to know the vision before they build the current day.
Mhm.
But there are
Mhm.
other type of companies, which is basically Google type of companies. They are
Mhm.
all number driven company. They
Right.
don't care about the vision. Even if they know about the vision, nothing can make them move except numbers and prove that users exactly asking for that. So if
Mhm.
user didn't know, like if like they didn't ask for that or whatever, like we never gonna make a change. So basically, and that's why like it's hard to say if it's right approach or not right approach, because you want to go to the future before you first building blocks for that future. And it's also hard to define the use case, I would say. So like the core problem of that technology is too much opportunities. Like it's too much stuff you can do. So like, and when you say to yourself, everything is possible right now, like your brain is just didn't handle. So like your brain is like resonate you nothing. When he hear everything, he say nothing. So like, and that's why like, okay, as a designer, personally, I was really, really fascinating about the Midjourney startup. And that is the only, I think, one technological innovation which I think that truly reinvent the whole industry and truly amazingly done. And the path towards that amazingly done, kind of like how they did that with Discord, with this, like when they start on the early days, this was so ugly, and that like the people believe into them because they didn't promise anything. They just like saying, here's the thing we're working on, come join us and like help us. And now like after 5 months only, like it's just the result is just blowing mind, right? So like it's incredible,
absolutely out of this world.
Yeah,
this latest generation is Gen 5, I guess.
Yeah,
my goodness,
no words, absolutely no words. I have goosebumps every time I'm used. I definitely stop using that right now, but for like 3 months, I would say I was like all my night I was just like click 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 click, because like no, it's amazing. I'm just stop using that because I have a clear realization it takes for me to build in 3D exact same image, like exact same amount of time. And I am enjoying the process of building with my hands much more than clicking the button so much times. So, but I think that is like that is the right example of what the answer for your question about what we should be building, like basically, because like if you can go from that bad image towards that good quality result within the like 5-6 month time frame, so damn, that's the product which is gonna change everything, like it's just like so good.
Gleb, this has been such. I have to like, it's just go home and just like calm down, take a bath, because this has been so like sparking a lot of neurons in my mind. I would like to end with 2 topics. First is that your sense of aesthetics is that, like I'm looking at Imagica, look at your past work. Your work is charming, very sophisticated. The look, the feel, the UX, the experience is magical but very simple. Like to all the aspiring designers who listen to this, I don't know if you have a tip or if you have an insight. How do you strike a balance between usability and providing and designing an experience that brings joy and inspire people?
Well, that is, I would say, required 2 skill set, and you already mentioned them. One is the user experience engineering, so and one is the visual design, basically. So these two basically skill set, they most often they're not working together well. So sometimes you try to make userful app, but it's starting to look ugly because you're just trying to make it easy to use. One of the 3 clicks on the early
Mm. Wow. Mm. Mhm. 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 Hundred percent. Mhm. 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 Yeah. Mhm. True. Mhm. 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 Yeah. One thing I took from this is like designers don't be afraid to have an opinion and sense of style and do not give up on that. And the one that you won the Webby Awards. Let me just because you're like, I need to I need to voice it out. Yeah. Hmm. Absolutely. Hmm. Hmm. Thanks a lot for sharing this. I really, really appreciate it. I think this past 10, 15 minutes was a crash course on um, how a person like you that been in this sport, so to speak, for so long and at the frontier of technology approaches design. Caleb, as last word, I would love for you as a person that really a design leader, to say the least, have a heart to heart with our audience, with inspiring designers, up and coming designers. Like, there's a lot of changes are happening in our industry. Like, if you want to share like your insight, your tip, your advice on how they can navigate their career, what would be your 2 cents? Hmm. 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 Yes. Hmm. 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 Agree. No. No. Wow. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Appreciate it a lot. Thanks for sharing your knowledge, being such an inspirational to me. And I 100% sure, Caleb, that all the other people would that listen to this would appreciate you openly talk about your experiences, what you are doing at the frontier of technology. Thank you a lot, Caleb. I appreciate you. Thanks for being, thanks for existing and pushing great design out there. Thank you. Ciao.